Okay, sorry about that. Had a little technical difficulty there. So we are going to start where we left off. And kitty face. All right, so this was the last slide. I almost got through. I said foster yin. This is for reducing, I'm talking about do 14, kidney 7, foster yin, reduce fever, and eliminate steaming. And the steaming that is referring to is steaming bone disorder. Some others here, do 14, reduce it, Ren 22, lung 7. That's going to be good for release exterior, dredge wind, diffuse lung chi. Do 14 with Li 11, spleen 9. That's going to warm the yang, release the exterior, and move damp. And then reinforcing here, oh, I'm sorry, I should say that out loud. It's those last two were with moxa specifically. That's how we get that, that dissipating cold and warming yang. With reinforcing method, do 14 Li4, classic point combination to consolidate the exterior. And then with UB13 and lung 9, also to consolidate the exterior, but also specifically to boost lung. Next up is do 15. Do 15 is our yang wei mai connecting point. This point is used to treat two different things. More often than not, it is used to treat local stuff. So they say here vessel disorders, but we're thinking nape and upper back, posterior head, mental disorders, and it is also used for disease patterns of loss of voice and muteness. So we mentioned with Ren 23, also good for loss of voice. Ren 23 is the main point for tongue movement disorders causing muteness. Do 15 is more often utilized to treat brain function related speech issues. So we can think of Ren 23 as tongue function and do 15 as brain function. But it even says here on the slide, do 15 may be added in combination with Ren 23 even for tongue movement disorders. Because we do have Ren 23 anterior tongue and do 15 connecting with the posterior part of the tongue. Let's see. So you could reduce or reinforce with this. I literally just said all this differentiation stuff, so I'm not going to go over that again. But that's really the more often than not, those are the two applications for that point. Next up is do 20. Do 20 being the meeting point of the do, all the yang channels and the liver channel, because remember, the liver channel goes to the vertex. So this is commonly used to treat disorders of the do vessel, also liver issues that are flaring upward, whether it's fire or yang rising or wind. This point is also commonly added to point combinations to treat sinking due to qi deficiency. So any sort of prolapse or sinking, we're going to throw do 20 in there as well as a branch point. You can think of this as a branch point for that. Also an important point for treating brain disorders. So do 20 is an important point for any brain disorder due to obstruction of qi or blood. Important differentiation of point function, do 20 versus do 16. Do 16 mainly used for external and brain wind, whereas do 20 is mainly used for liver wind, internal wind. So both used for wind disorders, but completely different applications there. Some reducing method point combinations here. We're going to see liver 3, GB40 for yang rising and wind. With GB20, liver 3, stomach 40 for yang rising, wind, and phlegm. And then with heart 7, stomach 40, liver 3 for wind, phlegm, and specifically this is good for clearing the brain and arousing the mind with the addition of heart 7 in there. Reinforcing method, do 20, we're looking at completely opposite here. So Li4, Ren 6, boost qi, bear yang upward. In the case of sinking, with do 1 to lift up the rectum, with Li4, Ren 4, and heart 7 to generate the pulse. So that's in the case of desertion. Then we can actually add moxa to do 20 with do 22 to help free the nasal orifices. And then again with Ren 4, Ren 8, that's going to really focus on the middle jiao, bearing yang upward and stemming desertion. And finally, do 20 with Li4, stomach 36. A very important point combination, good for supplementing the middle jiao, boosting qi, bearing yang upward, and raising what has sunk. So basically, any sort of sinking anywhere in the body due to deficiency, this is going to be a good point combination. And then last dew point, do 26. Meeting point of dew, large intestine, and stomach. We're on the face here. Commonly used in the treatment of disorders of spirit and mind, disorders affecting the dew channel, and facial disorders. So local disorders, particularly involving the mouth and lips. Really for myself, more often than not, I am using this point for local face stuff. We'll look at the actions here: reducing method or strong stimulation to open the orifices, open the blockage, clear the brain, and arouse the mind. So this would be when you would want to use the reducing method or strong stimulation. Alternatively, do not close the hole after withdrawing. Try and squeeze out a little bit of blood. That is really going to help open up the dew channel and free and regulate qi in the face. But again, remember that we have to be careful when we do any sort of bleeding on the face, because we have a heightened risk for bruising. But really, if you are using this for facial issues, it's going to be less strong stimulation for sure. You may even use the reinforcing method. All right, some point combinations here. We're going to be doing local points with do 26 for the face. With Li11, liver 3, heart 7, that's going to be for fire and internal wind, particularly attacking the heart. With do 1, do 14, and do 8, that's going to be for convulsions. With heart 7, stomach 40, and liver 3, we've been seeing those 3 points being put together a lot for internal wind and phlegm. Do 26 with kidney 1, with moxa at do 20, a nice strong point combination to open up blockages, open the orifices, and arouse the mind. And then last one down here is with 4 gates and prick to bleed, large intestine 11, to clear heat, relieve toxicity, open orifices, and extinguish internal wind. So a couple of pretty strong point combinations in here. Combination of do 26 in stomach and large intestine points. Basically, we're going to be using affected channel points when we're using do 26 to treat the face. So depending on which channels are affected up on the face, we're going to use those associated channels points, particularly with large intestine, Li4 and Li11, and then with stomach 44, stomach 41, and maybe even stomach 36. The one thing I will say about do 26 is we often hear about this being a point for lumbar pain. I myself have not needed to use this point for lumbar pain thus far. We have a bunch of points on the body that are great for treating lumbar pain. I've had a lot of success with it. I don't use do 26 really unless it is absolutely necessary. I don't use face points in general unless they're absolutely necessary. But I find, I'm sure all of you remember from needle tech, this point can really make your eyes water. And it's a little bit uncomfortable to receive. So that's one of those where if I can find other points to have that same action, I'm just going to avoid that. Because as far as face points go, that one's kind of uncomfortable. Then just last slide here, other dew points to consider. There are a few. We've got do 3, often used for lumbar and legs. Do 9 is great for spleen, particularly good for jaundice. Do 10, good for cough and wheeze, also good for toxic poison in the skin, so things like clove sores and carbuncles. Do 12, good for heart and lung, heat and wind. Do 23, good for the face and calming the shen, and then do 24 specifically benefits the brain, calms the shen, benefits the head, eyes, and nose. So some good points in here today, run and do points, some very, very important points commonly used. That is it for run and do. So now I want to shift gears here and show you what I have posted or currently will be posting, what you will see on your class Moodle page, which is the ACP5 Final Study Guide. So you can see here on my desktop, I have two different versions. There are two different versions available to you on Moodle. There's a PDF and then there's a Word doc. The reason why, whoops, wrong thing, wrong class. The reason why I have a Word doc here like this is so that if you want, you can use the study guide and you can actually type information in. You can change it for yourself to make it an actual study guide, because there isn't any information on this study guide. It's basically just, this is what you have to know. So all of this stuff is lifted directly from your final exam. So if you essentially fill in the blanks on this, you will be able to get, you should be able to get at least a B+, if not an A- or an A. This is not 100% of the information. There are a couple of little tidbits that I didn't include in here because they were just kind of outliers, but they were all kind of common sense things that I think that you should know before you even walked into day one of this class. Very basic information, like the difference between front moo and back shoe, what the application difference is. What do we generally use back moo versus front shoe? Back shoe versus front moo, excuse me. Things like that. So very, very basic information I did not put on here. But the more specific stuff, let's take a look at this. I'll kind of walk you through what I'm looking for here, and I will actually give you an example or a couple of examples. Yeah, okay. So first section, know the treatment principles and their signs and symptoms associated with the following point combinations. So what you're going to do is you're going to look through your notes to find these point combinations, and you should write down the treatment principles that they work with and some signs and symptoms associated with those patterns. So let's do one for example. I will inform you that RD means reducing. Moxa obviously means moxa, and RF means reinforcing. So just a heads up on that. So let's do the first one here as an example. So reduce, stomach 36, stomach 25, and spleen 9. That would be to clear heat and benefit movement of dampness. So that would be the treatment principle. And then a couple of, you could do signs and symptoms. I'm not going to go into a bunch of them, but you could say like diarrhea, loss of appetite, things like that. So just a few signs and symptoms. You could do like 3 or 4 signs and symptoms for each of these, but that's what you should do if you want to like do the fill in the blank thing. That's what you should be doing for all of these. Treatment principle, signs and symptoms associated with these point combinations. Some of them are 3-point combinations, a lot of them are 2-point combinations, but there are a lot of them. You can see here, there are a lot of them. This is really the bulk of the exam because this is the point combination class. So that's what we're here for. I will draw your attention to this last one here. So what this is asking for, I've got a bunch of points here with slashes and then plus spleen 6 for gynecology. So what I'm asking you for is treatment principles, signs and symptoms for stomach 36, plus spleen 6 for gynecology specifically. So think of a couple of signs and symptoms that would be associated for that. Same thing for heart 7 and spleen 6. What gynecological symptoms would you see, et cetera, et cetera. And then the next section here is know the single point that is most effective in treating the following disorders. You can see here exterior pathogenic factors anywhere in the body, but particularly the head and face. So go back in your notes and find that information. These are all fairly, that's not very intuitive. Moves the blood. Well, actually, no, there is a single point for that. Yeah, so so come up with a single point. If you find that you can't find one single point, know the two best ones, you can kind of do that, but I didn't want to give too much information away and lead you too much to your answers that are going to be on your exam. So just try your best with this. There's got to be a little wiggle room. I can't just give you all the answers. Let's see. Oh, and these last ones, as opposed to 1 point, there is definitively 2 points for each of these. No needling methods most commonly used on the following points. So Ren 22 and Liver 13. Liver 13, why do we use this single needling method over the other needling methods? And then know the differences between the following points. Really, I just wrote this. You all are the first cohort to get this written down all nice and neat and tidy, so you're welcome. Know the differences between the following points, their actions and applications. So just be able to, you should be able to discern when you would use one of these over the other, both regarding pattern and signs and symptoms. And then the last section here, know your point category info, both points and category actions. So you should be able to tell me what the sheet cleft point of the stomach channel is, and also what sheet cleft points do for all of your point categories. So I did not write all of that out because I feel like y'all should just know this stuff by now, but brush up on it a little bit. Students very often let that information go to the back of their brain. I will be testing. There are a couple of questions having to do with point categories. So that is about it. Your exam is, I'm actually looking at it on my other screen here. Your exam is 89 questions. I am going to give you, I have it open for the full 3 hours. So chances are it will not take you that long. If you take, if you take a minute on each question, it should only take it half that time. It takes you 2 minutes for each question. It will take you the full 3 hours, but a lot of these are going to be pretty easy for you, especially since you have this study guide here. This is going to make it very, very straightforward. So that's really all I have for today. The run and do, like I said, is very, very short. I don't have any pathologies or patterns rather to talk to you about having to do with the run and do. Y'all did that, the beginning half of this class. I'm not going to test you on that stuff because that's Marie Brown stuff. So that is all. Like I said before, and I will say it a million more times, always feel free to shoot me an email with any questions. And again, I do just want to reiterate that if you, as you are studying this stuff, you're thinking about the final exam, if you feel like you're freaking out a little bit and you want me to sit on Zoom with you while you take the final, please don't hesitate to ask me to do so, because it would make me super sad if I found out that you didn't ask me when you wanted me to help. I'm always here to help you. So please, if you need that help, let me know. I will not hold it against you. I do not mind, I don't mind hanging out with you and holding your hand if need be. So good luck, happy studying. I look forward to seeing all of you at the beginning of next semester in person. All right, doodles.